Good morning and welcome. My name is Helen Jennings. I am a Stampin' Up demonstrator based here in the UK, and I'm running a minute or two late this morning, so apologies for that. The culprit for me to running late this morning is this puzzle just here. I got so engrossed in trying to fit all my little numbers into my grid that I lost track of time. And then suddenly somebody knocked on the door and it's like, oh my goodness me, is that the time I shouldn't be here? So I'll go back to my numbers a little bit later. I'll move it out the way so I don't get distracted midway through making a project and suddenly go, oh, I know where I need to put my 8 and 4. Right, so I've had a few more lovely things arrive this week. Deliveries are starting to come through. Some of the ones that were originally stuck are still a bit stuck, but if you put in new orders, they seem to be coming through the system quite nicely, so that's good news. And as I say, I've had a few more things turn up this week that had originally been on back order. And one of those things is the Snailed It kit, the Snail Mail bundle. Yeah, I love parcels too. It gets very exciting. So I haven't as yet played with this. You'll notice that I've cut some of the paper up in here, but that's because paper shares. This is my share. So I've cut the papers up, so I've had a quick flick through them, but as of yet I've not used any of it, apart from some of the resin hearts because they came earlier, and some of the twine because that came earlier. So let's have a little look at the Snailed It kit. Let me find my catalogue. Let's get organised. Let's stop worrying about where numbers go in my puzzle and let's start playing. I have a Sudoku book next to my bed, and I tend to do a couple of Sudokus when I wake up in the morning, and probably a couple before I go to bed, but I've got to the hard pages in my book now, so they take a bit longer. Right, so Snail Mail, the Snail Mail Suite. It's gorgeous, this suite. It's such a fun little suite. You can see the samples there with these happy, smiley snails. You've got mail. Look at all those letters bursting out of that mail box. Got lots of mushrooms and toadstools. Just so cute. That one's like a shaker card. Look, with little tiny toadstools in the shaker card. You snailed it. Just really fun, funky little set. And you get a stamp set, a die set, papers, this twine combo. Do love a bit of twine. And these resin hearts. So that's what we've got out in front of us. The colours that they have highlighted, that's what this little box is just here for this suite, is Real Red, Blushing Bride, Daffodil Delight, Bermuda Bay and Basic Grey. How fun is that? So here's the little stamp set. It is a photopolymer one, and note is not, it is a red rubber. My head said red rubber, my mouth said photopolymer. It's going to be one of those days. It's a red rubber one. And as of yet, obviously, we've not even popped those stamps out or stuck labels on them. But you've got a couple of snails there, you've got some toadstools, some sort of letters, a speech bubble, little heart in there. So some lovely stamp images there. And then we've got the dies, as you can see. I've not even opened them up. I feel we need a drum roll. Oh, come on out. So in here we've got those snails that cut out, obviously the snails on here, as well as the so that is that one just there. We've got this little one just here with his little envelope on his back. You've got the little toadstools and things. We've got a scalloped and stitched sort of, well, it's not scalloped, it's more like a postage stamp edge and stitched square there. You've got some little hearts, and presumably they will if you want them to. cut out that stamped image. You've got these little mushrooms and toadstools. You've got your speech bubble. I would think that would cut out, yes, that little envelope. And then you've got this bit here, which will give you a label that will sit on the front of your envelope. And you've got a Diddy envelope die, a Diddy stitched envelope die. How gorgeous is that? So we will have a play with those as we go along. I am just going to wander off momentarily. I'm going to grab, oh, it's a bit dusty, I haven't played with that for a little while. Let me get my crafty tea towel and just give that a bit of a dust. I'm going to get my magnetic tray. Oh, and as you can see, your dies will stick in there. Just because last week we were losing dies. So let's have this sitting on the side and pop any dies in it that we are currently using. And then hopefully they won't go walkabouts. These are quite clever. I don't know if you've seen these before, but they are also magnetic on the bottom. So you can, the idea of them is for it's mechanics and things to stick them to the side of the car, so that if they're taking off nuts and bolts and things, they can just pop them in there and not lose them. But also useful for crafters to have on their desk to stick their dies in as and when they use them. Okay, so what shall we play with the snails? Let's have a quick flick through of the paper. So we've looked at the stamp set, we've looked at the dies. These little resin hearts are just lovely. They've got a real 3D element to them, in white and red. And if I take these out, that will give us the papers. You've obviously got snails there, and I would imagine that those dies will cut those out. Look at that, snail trail, or just stitched. But it gives the idea of a snail trail. Lots of lovely post, that's just sort of like stamps, lots of mushrooms. They are brilliant, yes, and they're not expensive. It was just an Amazon thing I got, quite heavy but not expensive. Lots of bonjours and hellos and hellos. You're sending cards to people with of different sort of different languages. Let's have a look. There's our little snail. Yes, I thought he might. He will cut out that little snail there, so no fussy cutting needed. Swirly whirly patterns. Lots of little snails. How cute are they? Sort of stitched lines, but not straight. They go zigzaggy on the page. Lots of big, these would be good for fussy cutting out, won't they, mushrooms and things, and are like a red and white heart paper. So really gorgeous. Excuse me one moment, I appear to have a silly runny nose for some reason. They're beautiful, aren't they, Lucy? So gorgeous papers, really bright, just really different and fun. And I've seen so many lovely projects made with these. So let's have a little look at what we can do. Now, where's that paper gone with all those stamps in? There it is. Feels if you ought to be something that you can do with those little stamps. To have a think about that. I think this heart is going to be too big to stamp that big heart in there. You want a tiny little heart, and then perhaps you would be able to stamp in there, but it needs to be a single little heart rather than lots of you know, cluster of hearts. So the always love you always, or always in my heart, it's got little clusters of hearts. But one of the stamp sets that just has a little single heart in it to go in there. I think perhaps think on that one. We'll think on that one for another day. But what shall we play with first? Oh, which of these papers is catching our eye? I really do love this. This sort of snail trail. Let's grab a bit of Bermuda Bay card. And let's have, it is real red, isn't it? Let's grab some real red card as well. That's rather fun to start with. So I'm going to make a card base. Trim that down to 14.9, or if you want to be exact, it should be 14.85. Ladies, I'll have to see if I can find you a link later for the magnetic trays. Right, so this one I'm cutting to 14.4 by 10. And then this one we'll have, cut it this way at 9.5. And this way at 13.9. Yeah, I very rarely get my trim my score board out these days. Actually, most scoring is done, and then using this lip at the top. So yeah, whether that's probably a top tip. And these things that I think that I do automatically, when I fold my card in half, I lay one edge up against there, so I know I've got a solid edge, and then you can bring the other edge up to meet it, and then fold. So hopefully then you get a straight edge on your card. There we are, this morning's top tip. If you don't already do that, it's a good way of getting a straight edge. Right, so here we have some of that whirly, snaily, snail trail paper. I do love this snail just here. I'm going to have to cut him out. He just has the most adorable expression with his big curly moustache and his googly eyes. So even if you just treat yourself to a pack of the paper, you can make some really cute things. But I have the feeling we're all going to want the dies just for that mini envelope. We'll make one of those in a minute. Let's come around the top. Oh, do they? Are snails good for chickens? I expect they probably are. They probably get some calcium from their shells, don't they? At least it stops the snails eating your plants, I suppose. Circle of life and all that. The balance of the ecosystem. So they're relatively easy to cut out, these snails. They haven't got too many fiddly bits. If you've got some slightly older children, they're the sort of thing they could happily cut out. That's cute. Right, there is that heart paper just here. I'm going to take my envelope die. And we'll have one heart one, I think. So let's just run that through. I see, good. That's my watercolour pencils going all over the floor. That's probably not the best thing to do with them. Caught the edge of the pot with my wire from my microphone. Let's just make sure I don't stand on them and cause them any more stress. Right, okay, so what you're not going to be able to see particularly well on there, but I can feel, you might see slightly better that side, is that that's not only cut it and give that stitched edging, but you also get your little score lines as well. To fold round your mini envelope, just like that. How cute is that? We'll bring these two inner bits in and then this bit up, and then we've got an envelope. So you can either have your envelope shut or you could have it open, entirely up to you. I'm going to take just a little blob of Tombow to stick that down there. And then I'll take another little tiny blob and stick that on the top. Let's give that a squeeze. Now, I think one of these is slightly bigger. I'll have to run that back through. Trying to avoid my pencils. I'm going to just cut that along there. And then have that on the inside of my flap. I could perhaps take my scissors and trim it just to the inside of the stitching line if I wanted a bit of the outside to show. But we'll have that. Let's wiggle that slightly. So then I'm going to go back to my dies and I'm going to take this little stitched rectangle, if I can unstick it, and I'm going to take a little bit of blushing bride, I think, and there'll be other colours in there. Rustle as I rummage around in my scrap box. So you can see where I cut that edge of that envelope for that corner just there. Let's find my little pokey tool. And then in here we've got a little stamp that just says hello. Let's find our sticker for it. And I think we'll go with real red ink. Just looking about, I had that for a project I was doing yesterday. Obviously didn't go away, it's still here. Let's stamp a hello on our letter. Have that just popping in there. So cute. Let's take a little mini dimensional or two. We'll worry about them later. I was going to be really tidy and put them straight in the bin. They don't want to pick up off of the glass mat. Right, so we have a snail. We have a little hello greeting. We're starting to build him up. I'm going to go back to my papers. Let's have a look. I'm going to take a strip of this one. Let's go 1.5 centimetres, so about 1.5 centimetres, which is sort of coming on sort of 5/8 of an inch, something like that. If you're an inch girl. I think I'm just going to tear that because, well, I can. I was wondering about a big mushroom. I was thinking that myself, Lucy. Should we go for a mushroom? We will. Let's go for a mushroom. There's plenty of room for a mushroom. Let's find the mushroom paper. Where are you, mushroom paper? It's on the back of the hearts. So I think we'll stick with this whole sort of blushing bride vibe. Oh, they're my ribbon scissors. Tell me off. Don't let me use my ribbon scissors for cutting paper. We love our paper, but it doesn't do anything for your ribbon scissors. Over time, eventually. So I'm trying very hard to save that one pair of scissors just for my ribbons and things, so it snips them nice and neatly. I rather like this one. It's a toadstool really, isn't it? I would imagine, with the shape of it. How fun is he? Let's have this little one. Let's have this little fella. I might bring him down the front somewhere. As I say, relatively easy to cut out. Nice big bold shapes. You could add some more colour to some of these if you wanted to. Some of them are... We love white space, but if you did want to add a bit of colour, some of them would be up for that. Right, Mr. Snail, I think we have your elements. Let's put you together. Let's move you to one side for a minute. She's rather lovely, isn't she, with her long eyelashes? These would obviously make fabulous Valentine's cards if you want Valentine's cards, but actually such a useful set at the moment when you think that they plan these catalogues so far in advance. The fact that we've got this stamp set here and now that sort of is all about snail mail, and you've got mail and sending letters and sending cards at a time when it's so important to keep in touch with people. It's just perfect for giving somebody a smile, sending a smile through the post. Let's put our strip of take a glue dot. The twine wants to attach itself to my fingers. Come here, bow. Can't get back on the reel now we've tied a bow and chopped you off, I'm afraid. Let's just pop that there. Got a second glue dot stuck to my finger. Don't watch your glue dot, stay there. So there's our bow. Let's have this little mushroomy toadstooly thing going on just here. And we'll have this one coming here. Let's untwist that bow a bit. And I'm going to find some bigger dimensionals somewhere, just here, at the back of our snail. So if we'd have wanted to make him a bit sort of more robust, if you were a bit worried about the paper getting battered, we could have always stuck our paper to a bit of scrap card and then cut through both layers, and that would have made him a bit more robust. But I think he'll cope. We'll have that coming over the top here. little letter we'll just have tucked in behind there. I think actually I will tuck it behind the mushroom a little bit. We have our other little mushroom here. Yeah, I think we'll have that in just here. They were a good shout, Lucy. They definitely needed some mushrooms. Let's just bring in a few little resin hearts. Ooh, let's turn you round a little bit. I do want my ribbon scissors this time because I just want to snip the ends off of this. How cute is he? Obviously I need to put a little white insert in there and perhaps stamp a little bit of something on the corner. And the back of your envelope you could put a Happy Mail enclosed stamp, just so people know. And that would be a really fun card to send to somebody who is just in need of a bit of a cheer up. So that's using mainly papers and a couple of the little envelope die. Yeah, so a pack of those papers and you were away. You wouldn't be able to die cut an envelope, but you'd be able to do lots of other fun little bits. Right, I think we need to play with some of these little snails and things. So this little snail actually has "You've Got Mail" on there. Now, we did about masking the other day. We can mask that, that's not a problem. We have our other snail. We have our toadstools. We have a speech bubble. You snailed it. That's a great congratulations card, isn't it? If you've got a young person that's just passed exams or passed a driving test, not that they can do those here at the moment, but yeah, did something amazing, you're really proud of them, a "You snailed it" card would go down quite well, I think. I would certainly be quite happy with a "You snailed it" card. Right, let's have some white cardstock this time. Actually, I'm going to take some shimmery white cardstock because we like to have a bit of a play, don't we, on these lives. So I'm just wondering. Ooh, wondering where my shimmery white cardstock has gone to start with. I'm sure I can't completely run out. Rustling around in the background. Perhaps we won't go with shimmery white cardstock. Perhaps we'll save that for another day. That's very odd. I don't know what I've done with that. Let's not the sort of thing that I normally lose. Give me a minute, no, that's this white. Oh well, we'll go back to plan A and we'll have some normal white cardstock. And I'll cut this 13.9. I was wondering what they were going to look like watercoloured rather than the sort of bolder, brighter. Ooh. Excellent. That's exciting, Jane. Well, I think she could have a You Snailed It card then, couldn't she? She definitely deserves one. So we'll make this in honour of your granddaughter. Okay. So I'm just browsing my stamp sets. If we're not going to do any watercolouring, I'm going to grab the Hearts and Kisses stamp set, because in that is this swooshy sort of stamp. Let's do some swooshing. We'll do that in I think I'm going to go Pool Party and stamp it off. I need a new Pool Party ink, really. Let's come the other way. So we'll ink up this. Let's turn this round. And we'll have like a faux swooshiness on the background there. Not worry too much about where it overlaps. We can work on that in a moment. Let's take some more of this white card and let's stamp some of our little snails and things. So let's take Big Snaily. Big Snaily with the long eyelashes. Don't know why I assume that makes her a girl, because guys often have long eyelashes as well. Perhaps they look as if she's had extensions or something on them. Let's have this. The toadstools and grasses. We'll have our little snail. I might not use him. Going to see how I go. And I think we'll get the little heart. And we'll have the You Snailed It greeting. Right, we'll worry about the rest if we decide to use them later. And that one, let's get rid of those bits. Those in there for now. Okay, so let's start with this one. And ink him up, or her up. I'm going to die cut these, so I'm just going to stamp this as it is. If I was stamping it direct onto my card, I would mask off that top bit, but as I'm going to die cut it, I can then snip it off, so I'm not going to worry too much. Let's not make life any more difficult for ourselves than we need to. Let's have our little toadstools. I'm actually going to, no, I don't want to do that. I'll come back to that in a minute. Little heart, I'm going to die cut a couple of these, but I'm actually going to stamp them in red because I want them to be all red. I'll add some colour in the middle, but rather than having a red outline, we'll give them a black outline, we'll give them a red outline. Go on there for now. Okay, so let's find our dies for these. That one, and that one, and that one, and that one. I think there might be a second heart die. And I think we'll die cut one of these as well. But I will do that in, I might do that in Pool Party actually. I was quite tidy in here when I started this morning. I've now got watercolour pencils all over the floor, little oddments of shimmery white card. Okay, so I've got an oddment of Pool Party there as well. So I'm just going to take these and run them all through the machine. I'll do it on the big one and then I can run them all through together. Actually, the die cut does just cut out that little snail. It doesn't cut out the greeting, so I don't need to snip it off. That would already have been done for me. Line my little hearts. And make sure your heart's in the right place. I've got one more heart to cut out and my little stamped. So there's a bundle of snails and snails and mushrooms. Couple of little red hearts. That heart moved, little pickle. Going to die cut a heart and then we'll stamp it. Go the other way round. obviously we could have just literally die cut some red card if we didn't want to stamp on it. Oh, that's black. That's not what we want. Oh, catch up. You can always catch up later, Lucy. Have a good day. Let's lie that on there. Give that a press. It's a bit smudgy, but that's okay because we're going to colour it in anyway. Right. So we have 3 hearts, 2 snails, some mushrooms. What colours to do them? Obviously, at this point, you can, you know, the world is your oyster. You can colour these in whatever you like. I'm going to take some grey granite for my mushrooms. Grab some granny apple green for my grasses and things. Let's start with those. I'm going to take the real red and I'm going to fill in my hearts. Little heart dies and punches are so useful because you can often add a heart embellishment to things if you've got cards that just need a bit of something. It doesn't want to be a flower or a butterfly. Quite often little hearts are quite useful. So there's our 3 little hearts. While I've got my red out, I'm going to do that little heart on the front of that letter. And I think this toadstool here I'm going to go quite traditional with in terms of colour. So let's come round here with the dark real red. And I'm going to come in and just blend that out. Take the dark grey granite I'm going to come in under here. Let's add in a little bit of light grey granite and just come around the edge of these spots just to help them pop out a little bit white. What colour? I'm just browsing through my colours to decide what colour we'll have. Let's go a bit random. Let's have a rich raspberry. For this one. Oh, did that the wrong way round. That was the dark, that was the light. let's add in some dark. And this one down here. I think I'm going to take Pool Party actually. Got some Pool Party in the background. And we'll do alternate light and dark just to give it some stripiness. Let's come in with some Granny Apple Green on here. I'm going to take this stamp with the mushrooms on. Can you hear my brain ticking? How loud is it? It feels as if it's very loud sometimes. Right, and I'm going to come back to my memento. And what I want is that toadstool in the middle. I'm not really worried about any of the others. And I'm going to colour him in again because I think we're going to 3D him up. Now obviously at home, when you've got all the time in the world, you can take a bit more time over this. Let's come in with the light real red. Blend that out. We'll have some dark grey granite. And some light grey granite. And I'm going to take the Granny Apple Green and let's just add in some of that grass in the front, and I'm going to add in some of this grass just here. And then taking our non-ribbon scissors and around the spots, just going to cut out this toadstool just here. Let's come in with our light and just come around the edge of these spots just here, and then we're going to raise that one up so that that pops out from the background. Got our little hearts. Going to take the You Snailed It and the Memento ink, And we'll have that up there. We might have some of these, yes, coming on the front here. And then I think we'll have this little girl. Might save that one for another day. Okay, so what shall we have colour wise on our little snail? I'm going to come in up here with a rich raspberry and a pool party present. Should we have a granny apple green shell, or shall we have it stripy? Come in with some dark mint macaron. We'll have a bit of a stripy snail shell. Perhaps granny apple green might be a bit in your face for a snail. I don't know really. Now we could have him grey, but I think I'm going to go petty pink. Down a good amount of colour with the brush end, and then I'll come in with the nib end and blend those edges together. We'll take our light pool party and just add a little touch of colour around our eyes. Right, let's grab a bit more pool party and let's go for blushing petal pink as well. We'll see. I've got a long bit of pool party that's cut just here, so that will work perfectly for our card base. So let me just score that. Oh, that looks as if it's got a bit eaten just there. It's amazing how much suddenly having some colour behind it and a bit of a frame makes a difference. think actually that card base may be a little too wide, looking at how that's matting up. So that's okay, because that means we'll be able to get rid of that dog-eared bottom. That's better. Quite nice thing about having these notches on the side is if you're wrapping something like twine around them, they fit quite nicely in that notch. Just going to leave that as it is for a minute, and I'll tie the bow when we're to got it all together. If there ever comes a time when I've got it all together, I'll tie that bow. It might be a long time waiting. Let's go with our petal pink layer on our pool party layer. And our whisper white layer, or our white layer, basic white as it is now. This is whisper white actually, I think, rather than basic white. We'll have that on there. I'm going to stick this down directly. I'm going to have that on a jaunty angle. I'm going to take some dimensionals and pop them on the back of that little cut out toadstool to decoupage that up, layer that up. That will just give that a little bit of height in there. I'm going to put some more dimensionals on the back. And we'll have those just there. Let's sort this bow out now. Got very sticky fingers. And then we'll have our little snail coming in here. We'll perhaps give her some dimensionals as well. So she'll be raised up a bit, but still won't be quite so high as the mushrooms because they've got a couple of layers on. have her about there, and then we'll put on our little hearts. Two. Now do we want that one to go there? No, I think we'll have it coming up here. So there we go. You snailed it. So a couple of cute little cards. I think this set is one that you could play with for hours and hours and hours. Different colour snails, different combinations, those little letters. I've seen them with, people have used the playful alphabet letters and had a different letter in each envelope, sort of spelling out hello, or you could have them spelling out somebody's name. Just adorable. It is just such an adorable suite of products, and one I think that is just so relevant for now, getting that snail mail and those lovely messages out to those you care about. So yeah, make sure you've got snail mail in your collection. Thank you for coming along and playing this morning, and I will catch up with you all very soon. Have a great weekend, everybody.